රටපුරා ක්‍රියාත්මකයි.
Newsfirst, Newsline with Faraz Shaukat Ali on TV1.
And very good evening to you. This is Newsline Zoom. And our guest this evening is the General Manager of Sri Lanka's Foreign Employment Bureau, none other than Mr. Priyantha Senanayake. A man comes with a lot of experience over there. Very good evening to you, Mr. Senanayake, and welcome to Newsline.
Very good evening, Mr. Faraz.
Thank you very much. Mr. Senanayake, let me start by saying this. Sri Lanka's economy is going through several challenges, like many countries around the world. And foreign employment has become more important than ever before. In that context, Mr. Senanayake, tell me, how is the order book? Is there a lot of orders for Sri Lankan workers?
Yeah, Mr. Faraz, since you have mentioned the importance of foreign employment towards the Sri Lankan economy, in this especially we had some crisis situation, and also still we are suffering to some extent in the economic crisis. So in terms of foreign employment, as you know, that we not only bringing the foreign exchange to the country, even we address the issue of unemployment. For example, say if you look at the figures of last year, we could recruit more than 300,000 Sri Lankans for overseas employment. Mainly, if you focus on certain countries, we can say even 80% represent the Middle Eastern region, and the rest maybe for other countries such as Japan, South Korea, and Malaysia, and several other countries. These are, of course, the emerging market for Sri Lankans. So in average, we can say nearly 1,000 workers leaving for foreign employment per day.
That's a lot of money, I suppose. What is the average income of these 1,000 people on average? What's the average sort of income?
Are you referring in terms of foreign exchange, or what is earned by the Bureau of Foreign Employment?
No, I'm what is earned by our fellow citizens outside.
Yeah. If you compare the figures in, say, a couple of years back, the monthly remittance average between $500 million to $700 million. Now, if you compare the figures of year 2021, it has drastically gone down to average of 200 million. Now we are catching up. If you look at the figures of May, we are at the stage of say nearly I think 500 million USD per month. Actually, it has come up to 465 million USD per month. That means we are catching up the figures now compared to the previous figures what we had. And also, if you compare with the annual remittances, it's about 7 billion USD, and it has drastically gone down during the COVID period. But if you compare the figures of last 5 months' time, I think we have reached the target about more than 2 billion USD. So I think we have very good future, and I think the market is open for not only Sri Lankan, even for other countries as well. I think the market conditions are favorable at the moment.
So that's very good work, obviously, that the Bureau is doing in encouraging this. Tell me, Mr. Priyantha, what are the safety processes that you have when a prospective candidate walks into a agency? We in the press, we hear many stories, horror stories really, of people being cheated and so on. What's your advice to a prospective candidate? And I do know that this program will be closely followed on social media, especially by the youth in our country who are looking forward to going abroad. What kind of advice can you give somebody going into an agency? What are the basic steps they must take?
Before coming to the advice in the Paras, I will just explain the main channels of foreign employment. We have two ways of recruiting Sri Lankan for foreign employment. One is, as you said, through the licensed foreign employment agencies. The other one is through the personal contact.
Right.
Irrespective of the channel of recruitment, there is a law as per the SLBFE Act. All Sri Lankans leaving for foreign employment should register with the Bureau of Foreign Employment. That is the country's law. When it comes to the recruitment through agencies, each recruitment agency is given a license by the SLBFE for a period of 1 year, and that is renewable. And the license is given after completing several formalities. Even the formality in the sense, even we are looking at the personal conduct of the license holder as well. So that is, the process is there, and also we have separate investigation division at the head office and also to the branches, and they do random visits to these agencies and make sure whether the operations are taken place in accordance with the guidelines given by the Bureau of Foreign Employment. When that comes to the recruitment, the job order, what is bought by the foreign employment agencies in Sri Lanka, there is a requirement of attestation. If there is a Sri Lankan embassy, Sri Lankan mission in the destination country, it's a must for them to get the authenticity. The job order has to be authenticated by the respective Sri Lankan mission. If there is no Sri Lankan mission overseas in the respective country, then they have to get the job order authenticated by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the respective country or the Chamber of Commerce. So we have that kind of validation of job orders, and also we have minimum requirements that should be complied by each foreign agency or the foreign employer in order to recruit a Sri Lankan. And also, when that comes to the recruitment stage, they have to again get the approval of the Bureau of Foreign Employment. For that purpose, in addition to the other documentation what is required by us, important document what should be submitted is the employment contract. The employment contract, when that comes to the especially the female domestic workers, even the employment contract should be authenticated by the respective Sri Lankan mission. So we have check and balances in order to verify the authenticity of the employment and also make sure whether the worker's right is observed or ensured by the employer and especially in the destination country.
How do you? I had a question sent to me by one of our viewers sometime last week in the context of a potential interview like this, and that person was asking me how he can be safeguarded by the Foreign Employment Bureau, where they are asked to pay money up front, along with taking the passport. And then they have to wait for months and months, and there's no progress, only sort of continuous promises. What should the prospective candidate do when Agent X says, "Look, I've got a job. We've got a job order from whichever country, and it is for a driving position." Is there a way the prospective candidate can check that story is true?
Yes, of course, so far as, because if you can visit our website, you can easily verify the country of employment category, respective name of the respective Sri Lankan agent, and the qualification required for each and every job, and also the approved amount that should be charged by the respective license foreign agency in Sri Lanka. And you can you can verify all the information what is required by you. And also, if anybody charge or anybody demands more than the approved amount of the Bureau of Foreign Employment, we have a separate section, as I have mentioned, that is called investigation division. Not only at the head office, we have operated at the moment investigation units at 5 outside branches as well. So they can easily lodge a complaint to these branches. And also we have 24 hours operated call center with a short code, that is 1989. So if you have any doubt on anything, you can just check with our call center and find out the correct information. So they are 24 hours around the clock.
This approved amount, the amount that is approved using a formula by the Foreign Employment Bureau, when should the candidate pay the approved amount?
So that, of course, little different, Mr. Faraz, because that depends on the recruitment process. Certain countries, we know that the expenditure, mostly maybe sometimes entire expenditure is borne by the employer or the foreign agent. If that is the case, there is no approved amount for them. There is a free recruitment. But when that comes to the recruitment and there is no reimbursement of cost by the employer or the foreign agent, then the local agent has to spend money at different stages. For example, medical. Prior to departure, they have to spend for the medical. Sometimes they have to spend money for the visas. They have to spend money for the air ticket. And so that depends on the recruitment process, because they have to spend money at the various stages. But only thing is that the applicant has to be much cautious whether the money what is accepted or what is demanded by the agent is justifiable, or whether he is asking money at the reasonable stage. So if they have any doubt on particular recruitment, again, they can verify with the Bureau of Foreign Employment. So we have not specifically decided that at what point that they should charge and at what amount that they should charge, because that differs from recruitment to recruitment. But most of the agents, they charge the amount prior to departure, because otherwise they have no way to recover the money.
Yes. Well, is there a sort of preset time frame in which between the payment of the money and the signing of the contract and the departure, is there like a preset so that we can say this is a reasonable period?
This has to be within a reasonable period, because certain countries, you know that there is a long delay in getting visas done. So certain countries you can get visas within very few days. So that depends on the country and also job category. For certain countries, for certain job categories, they can easily get the visa approved. But certain jobs categories, so the process is little longer. So in that case, but what we have to say is that the period has to be reasonable, and also if they have any doubt, they can check with the Bureau, and also they can lodge a complaint at the Bureau and make sure whether things are really happening or not.
I see. When you have this approved amount of payment, is that amount in rupees or is it based on a foreign currency like dollars?
We display these figures in Sri Lanka for the benefit of Sri Lankans. So we have expressed in Sri Lankan rupees.
Where agents, another question from somebody who knew that we were doing this program. The question is that when the amount quoted is linked to a foreign currency, let's say euro, and of course we've had our own difficulties with the exchange rate in this country. We saw lots of fluctuation in that. At what point, which rate do you use? Because, 6 months ago, the euro would have been at a different rate. And today, the euro is at a different rate. So which amount is applicable, really?
No, actually, the amount has to be the amount what has been approved by the Bureau at on that particular day. If there's any remarkable differences in the exchange rate, the licensees having the privilege of asking for revision.
Right.
But it doesn't mean that they by themselves decide the amount, because they have to stick to the amount what has been approved by the Bureau, irrespective of the exchange rate. There is a drastic change, fluctuations, of course, they have all the right make a request, make an appeal to the SLBF and get a revised amount approved. Therefore, there is no authority for them to revise the amount based on the fluctuation of exchange rate.
Thank you. And on that note, let's go for a quick break in which we take a look at this evening's primetime news headlines. And we'll be right back. We're in conversation with the General Manager of Sri Lanka's Foreign Employment Bureau, Mr. Priyantha Senanayake. We'll see you on the other side of the break.
Newsfirst, Newsline with Faraz Shaukat Ali on TV1. TV1. TV for life.
Tamil political parties claim president's meeting was just a show for India. Sri Lanka Parliament passes anti-corruption bill with amendments. Opposition expresses concern on inquiry over unlawful deals. Andhra Kumara reveals wheat flour monopoly in Sri Lanka. Bandula says country suffered a loss of over 300 million rupees from thefts along the expressway. Airport workers protest. Free trade zone employees take to the streets.
TV1. TV for life. Newsfirst, Newsline with Faraz Shaukat Ali on TV1.
And welcome back to Newsline Zoom. My guest this evening is Mr. Priyantha Senanayake, who is the General Manager of Sri Lanka's Foreign Employment Bureau. Mr. Senanayake, again, thank you very much for being on Newsline. You bring a wealth of experience to your job, and I'm sure that as a country, people will be grateful for the sterling service that you and your colleagues at the Foreign Employment Bureau are carrying out. It's a national task, and I am sure the country will all join me in acknowledging the wonderful work that your bureau does. And so thank you on behalf of everyone for the work that you all do. Tell me, how legal or illegal is it for an agent to hang on to a candidate's passport? And why do they have to do that?
Actually, Mr. Faraz, they have legal right to keep the passport for a reasonable time. Again, I have to emphasize a reasonable time for the recruitment, because we know that there are things to be done. They have applied for visa, they have referred the candidate, the applicant for the medical, and also there is another issue for them. Sometimes, once the agent has spent all the money, so all the expenses, at the last minute, sometimes some applicant says, no, I cannot go due to family obligations, family issues and all that. So at that point, the agent is also helpless because he has spent a lot of money for a recruitment. Therefore, they have all the right to keep the passport for a reasonable period, which there's understanding, and also with the in consultation with the Department of Immigration. So we have very close relationship with Department of Immigration as well. So they have consented even for the agents to keep the passport for a reasonable period. It doesn't mean that he can keep it for years, he can keep it of several months, but it has to be a justifiable reason. Otherwise, any person, if the agent is keeping passport for a longer period, for an unjustifiable period, they have all the right to come and lodge a complaint at the SLBF. So as the regulatory body, we definitely intervene and sort out the issue.
And also, Mr. Priyantha Senanayake, tell me, when, let's say, a candidate has paid money, say part of the money and whatever, and in between that, it becomes obvious that the agent, for whatever reason, can't fulfill that order, and this candidate cannot go abroad according to what was agreed. Are there any safeguards through the Foreign Employment Bureau for the candidate to get a refund?
Yeah, of course, it's something like this. We look at whether the job order cannot be materialized due to the fact that it's the fault of the agency, or it's something beyond the control of the agency. For example, so certain countries, we know that for issuance of visa, they have very tight controls.
Yeah.
And in order to apply for visa, so the person has to spend money for the medical and various other requirements. So once the application is submitted for the visas, so sometimes the foreign embassy finds that there is a bad record in the police report of the particular applicant. So that is, in that case, sometimes they refuse to grant visas. So in such an event, the Bureau will decide that the applicant should pay what has been spent by the licensed foreign employment agencies, and the rest should be refunded. So it's a case-by-case approach, Mr. Faraz.
Right. And is there provision under the rules for the Foreign Employment Bureau to take a decision to make an order that is binding on the agent to pay his money?
Yes, of course. Not only the binding, and also we have all the right to sue the parties concerned, no matter it's a licensed foreign agency or any other party. Even we have arresting powers as well.
Oh, I see. Okay. And does the Foreign Employment Bureau, do you have funds kept in an escrow account from each agent to meet these obligations?
Yes, of course. Very recently, actually, earlier the bank we had a bank guarantee of rupees 750,000. So we thought, our management thought that it's not enough, because the numbers are going every day, increasing numbers are going. So now, very recently, we increased the value of bank guarantee up to rupees 3 million. So now we have in hand that rupees 3 million in case of any liability that comes against the respective license for employment agency. Even if the bank guarantee is not enough, we have two sureties also. Even we can sue them. So we have all the precautions in case of any losses that may incur by the respective applicants.
Another question that was posed to me was, why is it that when people go to these agencies, offices, why is it that it seems to be so high security? There's a lot of sort of security personnel there, and somebody told me that it looks like that they're bouncers. They're not just security as such, and they feel intimidated. Why is there a need to have that sort of ambience in an agency?
I don't think, I don't know, they are focusing on what particular agencies. Basically, we have site inspection. We do annually and also on and off on random basis. So we have certain guidelines. And it's first time I have heard about. So anyway, I can't understand why, as you said, that there is no reason for them to have that kind of security arrangements. But anyway, I will look into that, but I don't think that there is any necessity of having it, because most of them they have been in this field for longer years. Even now, very recently, we have graded them, and now we have 5-star agencies, 4-star agencies, 3-star likewise, looking at their professionalism. So anyway, it's the first time when I have heard about that kind of incident.
All right. Well, Mr. Priyantha Senanayake, I know that we are coming towards the end of our program, so I want to say thank you ever so much for being on the program. It's not often that we get senior officials like you coming on a program, taking time out to explain. But we wish you all the very best in uplifting Sri Lanka's economy, and especially in taking care of our fellow citizens who've gone abroad, leaving their families alone and their children, and many problems and challenges, but nevertheless going there to do their bit, not only for their personal economy, but also for the wider economy in our country. Thank you. I know that you are you have a big onerous responsibility on your shoulders to take care of these people. Last question, very quickly. How many people, fellow citizens, are working abroad?
We have estimated that about 1.2 million Sri Lankans working overseas. And I must say it's more than 80% working in the Middle Eastern region. Those are the official statistics at the moment. And also, Mr. Paras, thank you very much for the Newsline, giving us this opportunity, especially to educate the general public on the role of the SLBFP and also as to how they should seek foreign employment and what are the guidelines that they should adhere to, and also how they can select a reliable licensed foreign employment agency to seek foreign employment. And also I must thank to you and also asking very constructive and valuable questions for the education of general public. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And that's the way on Newsline. Coming up to 8 years of continuous broadcasting from the Capital Maharaja Media stables. Very proud to have been able to do that. And we'll see you again tomorrow with yet another dynamic show. And very soon we'll be having Sri Lanka's High Commissioner to the United Kingdom, Saroja Sirisena, on Newsline. And that's something we, like always, like all our programs, that's worth watching. Now time for the primetime news. Take care. Have a great evening as much as you can. And as always, God bless you all.